Well, it's time to put you out of your misery. Misery. I don't know what I'm doing. It's time for us to yeet that engine straight out of that engine bay. Today I'm getting that engine, well, I don't know if I'm gonna get it out today. It might come out tomorrow, but I'm at least get it stripped down today. Normally I can pull an engine in about an hour and a half, 2 hours if I have a lift. If I don't have a lift, it takes me longer. I don't know how long because I haven't done this in a while, not using a lift. So it's time to pull the RA block out of Karma, get it on an engine stand, and get it ready for mittens. We are about to throw in our new engine for this car, and I'm excited. My buddy Eric is going to be up drilling our heads for us, so I need to get the heads off that engine because on Friday we're gonna go over there, have him drill up the heads, we'll bring him back, we'll check surface flatness. If surface flatness checks out, we'll get him bolted up onto our short block, get it dropped back into the engine bay. Then I need to get it ready to go down to Kyle's for some fabrication work he's doing for us. Then we'll bring it back up here, finish building. Oh dude, my goal for this is like 2 weeks. I'm giving myself like 2 weeks. Knock all this out. Knock all this out. So we're gonna start things off here by disconnecting the battery. And then after that, actually no, I'm gonna get the car on jack stands first, and then we'll get the bumper. We'll have to get the bumper off, get it on jack stands, disconnect the battery, get all fluids out of here. That is going to be oil and coolant. We're gonna get both of that out of this engine. While those are draining, I'll probably come up here and I'll start disconnecting a lot of the smaller stuff, like the airbox intake, the AOS, all the small crap's gonna come out of here. So let's just get right to it. I wanna get this engine out of here, so let's get old girl up on some jack stands, start tearing her apart. Let me tell you, that's gonna make someone upset right now, having that bumper off. Somebody gets so upset that I take the bumper off to work on the car. Like, even when I'm pulling an engine, I take the bumper off. Like, why do you eat cereal with a spoon? Huh? Why aren't you using a fork? I just prefer to do it this way, all right? Let's not get all salty here. So, oil is draining down there. I can't pull coolant out of the car yet. That is just way too hot. I got done driving the car not too long ago, and that really needs to cool down before I open the cooling system to the atmosphere and start letting coolant go out. I have a bucket over there to catch it all, so that way we can recycle it. So, in the meantime, while the oil is draining, I'm gonna start disassembling the engine bay up here. I'm gonna get the intake out of here, intake box, alternator out, battery disconnected. We'll start taking charge piping out. We'll start stripping this engine bay down. We'll probably get the intake manifold off. This shouldn't take me too long to strip down. I've done this enough times where I feel like I know it like the back of my hand. At least I hope so. Let's start stripping her. Let's get her naked. Yo, this feels so nice right now because I can just go through, take my time, take this thing apart. It's so much less stressful because I've done this so many times now that I feel very confident in just going through and disassembling the engine. So I've got the alternator out. Coolant is still dripping and draining. Same with the oil in the car. Alternator's out, throttle body's off, charge piping's out, intake is out. There's some more stuff out, like smaller stuff here and there, some sensors. But this is going great. It's going great so far. I'm fully confident that I can probably get this engine out today. Now here's one thing that I love about working on modified cars. It is so much easier to work on modified cars than it is OEM. Like, I can easily get this intake manifold off. I can easily access all the bolts on it. I have nothing attached to the bottom side of the manifold, so it's not gonna like hold me up or stop me. You try to like wiggle it around and move it. Next thing I'm gonna be doing here, AOS is gonna come out, so I'm gonna get those lines disconnected, get that out of the car to get all the PCV hoses out of there. Intake manifold's gonna come off. Once the intake manifold's off, we'll get the turbo inlet out, we'll get the downpipe off, we'll get the fuel stuff out of the car, the injectors, the rails, the lines, all of the fuel stuff out of there. We'll get this stripped down to a bare long block. Also, my power steering rack I'm pretty sure is good because I'm pretty sure I found the leak. Like right there on that fitting. This FP turbo inlet is so big that it pushes on this line right here, which is why I swapped over to this Chase Bays kit. And it's still like straight up just like yeets right on there. Just yeets. Oh! USPS dropped something off. turbo blanket. Let me get this AOS out. Let me get this intake manifold off, the fuel stuff. And then from there, I think it's electrical stuff, oil cooler I have to disconnect. I actually might lose the oil cooler. I don't know. For some reason, those Mishimoto sandwich plates down there always tend to leak oil for me. So I don't know if I'm gonna keep it on the car in this next revision. I might take it off and sell it. I don't know. I never have good luck with oil coolers. But anyways, start taking more stuff off. We got stuff to do. Sketchy count, we're at 1. I'm a little worried about the passenger side head. One of the bolts that holds the TGVs in place, I can see it right there. It's warped. It's bent. I've never seen a TGV bolt bend like that. The hole reflects the bend as well, so I'm a little worried about surface flatness on that head. I may have to get these heads decked now. I don't want to get the heads decked because we literally just decked them like 2,000 miles ago, and I'm gonna check surface flatness. If surface flatness checks out, I'm not gonna deck them, but I'm at minimum going to have to helicoil one of the holes on the head. It's not the end of the world. It's a little sketch. I'm not a huge fan of it. But it is what it is at this point. Like, it's just weird. I've never seen that before. So I've got the fuel lines out. I've got the TGVs off. I have the intake manifold out, the wiring harness. I'm gonna get the turbo out and the downpipe out next. I've been trying to avoid going under the car because there's like coolant and oil down there, and I don't want to be crawling around in that quite yet. So let's get the turbo, well, let's get the downpipe off, then the turbo out. After those are off, radiator. And then I think at that point, we're ready to take the engine out. I think at that point, we're ready to pull this engine out. Let's pull it out. Let's take it out. Well, let's get the downpipe off first. Let me get that downpipe out. So I'm gonna stop here for tonight. I have another video I have to edit. So we have the downpipe, turbo out, all the supporting stuff on top of the block out of the car. I still have to get that wastegate out of here, the up pipe, and then we can pull, and the oil cooler, and then we can pull this engine out. So tomorrow, first thing tomorrow, we'll get this engine pulled out. We'll get it disassembled. We'll get the head set aside and cleaned. And then Friday, we'll go drop them off and have Eric up drill them for us. I'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning, my friends. It is now the next day. I've been working off camera this morning before it gets like crazy hot outside. Getting as much done on this as I can. I want to get the engine pulled in the next like 30 minutes, which is about to happen. But let me show you, let me recap with you guys. So I just went through, I got the radiator pulled out, I have the up pipe pulled out, turbos out, all this crap's out of here, heater core hoses are out. I think I pulled a couple other smaller things. I pulled the power steering pump off because I'm already gonna have to rebleed the system because I was gonna have to take that fitting off anyways to fix the leak that we had. So I just drained the little reservoir right there. I tucked up the hoses so that way we don't actually lose any fluid down in the lines, so it's not going to be as much of a pain to bleed as it was before. Now we're ready to get the engine pulled. So it's pretty easy to pull an engine once you get to this point. I also got the oil cooler out. Pretty easy to get the engine pulled. We need to take the starter out. There is a 12mm or 13mm on the starter for the power wire. There's a ground that goes down to the block down there. There is the one ignition or signal wire to the starter. Then the starter can come out. Then we need to pull that slide pin out that holds the clutch fork in place. Then we can get the clutch fork disengaged from the actual throwout bearing. I'll probably replace that throwout bearing since we are taking this all apart. I mean, that one only has 3,000 miles on it, but if we're going in there, any relative maintenance items like that, I'd rather just change while the motor's out. So, and it's cheap to do. So let's get started on this. We'll get the pitch top disconnected, we'll get the starter out, we'll get all the bell housing bolts undone, and we'll yeet this old girl right out of here. We'll just, woo! So I wanted to show you guys this before I pull this engine out. I don't know if I've showed you guys this before, but this is kind of ideal situation for what you want. So I've got the chain hooked up to this. I have no tension put on there, as you can see. I've only taken out the starter and disengaged the clutch fork. So as you can see, clutch fork is like sloppy, disengaged, whatever. The case is already wanting to split from the transmission, so this is very ideal. All I gotta do is pull out these last of the bell housing bolts, and this thing should just come right out of here. So I'm gonna get that jack supported on the transmission, so that way the transmission doesn't slam down when I go to pull the engine out, because the trans is gonna come up with the engine when I go to pull this thing out of here. So let's get her out. Let's get her out and on the stand. I call this deja vu because we've been here so many times before. So, got the motor out, kicking it over here on the stand. I am about to go through, start tearing this down. But honestly, not bad to pull out. Like, yeah, at this point for me, it's just going through the motions. It's just going through the flow of getting this thing out. It's like, you know when you do something enough, it's like, it's just become second nature. Like, these engines are so easy for me to pull out at this point. Like, it didn't give me any challenges. I didn't run into any roadblocks, nothing. I did find another source of the power steering fluid leak. It is coming from the AN fitting on the bottom side of our Chase Bays guy right there, and it's just soaking that line. So I'm gonna replace that line while we have the engine out. It's just gonna make life a lot easier for me to get down there to the rack. I can jack up the transmission to give me some more room to be able to get down in there. But hey, look at that. There's so much room for activity. So now that I've got the motor out, start tearing it down. I just ordered a new timing belt kit. I was going back and forth on whether or not I wanted to reuse that timing belt kit or not. The timing belt kit only has like 3,000 miles on it. I'm gonna give it to Matt so that way he can use it on the Legacy that we have that's getting that engine, so he can get everything in time. He can get a long block built and whatnot. I may have to order new timing covers because I know one of the bolts on that timing cover is stripped, and I have a feeling I'm gonna have to break it off. I'm hoping I don't have to break it off so I can reuse those timing covers. If I do have to buy new timing covers, I'm just gonna go OG, buy the IAG clear timing belt timing cover set. They look pristine and they smell delicious. So let's get the crank pulley pulled off. Let's get the header pulled off, all the coolant passage stuff. We'll get timing pulled off the car. I'm really not looking forward to battling with these timing gears or the cam gears because they're always a pain, and I'm doing this by myself today, so I'll make something work. So I'm getting this stripped down. I have to wait till I have a second person to help me pull off these cam gears. There's no way in hell I can get those off by myself. The timing cover did break right there. It did break on that side, so I'm just gonna order new timing covers. It's whatever. Now here's something, before I show you guys this, keep in mind that even the top quality of companies sometimes have issues with their products. Now personally, I've worked with this company. I love their products. So keep that in mind when I show you this. This is not me bashing on them, but it's a very good thing that we actually pulled this motor. Otherwise, we probably would have had engine failure at some point in the future. Now, like I said, I love this company. This is a Killer Bee oil pan. This oil pan has about 3,000 miles on it. Sometimes there's just quality control issues, or sometimes material just fails, all right? So this is no fault of anyone. It happens. Killer Bee, if you see this, I love your stuff. I'm just showing the people the things. So in the oil pan right here, look at that. That's not supposed to do that. That's not supposed to be like that. That weld seems okay up there. Those welds seem all right. Right there, I don't know how well it's going to pick up on camera. There is a crack in the weld right there going onto the material. Same with over here. There is a crack right there coming off of the weld going into the pan. So I've already contacted Killer Bee to get this situation taken care of. They'll warranty out the pan, I'm sure. I would hope. I think. I don't know. I'll update you guys on the Killer Bee situation. But I am at a standstill until Melanie comes home because I ran out of brake clean. And I need a lot more brake clean to keep re-cleaning stuff before I throw it back on the engine. So I need brake clean. I have to go drop off a couple packages of parts. You guys bought parts so fast when I listed them. Like, Jesus. So I got to go drop those off. Then I'm going to have Melanie try and help me pull off these cam gears. I want to get the heads off today. So that way Friday we can go get these things up drilled for 1/2-inch head studs. So I actually think I'm going to stop here for today. It's getting super hot. I'm going to have Melanie come out and help me later tonight pull the cam gears off, and we'll do the long block teardown in the next video and then take the heads over to my buddy who will drill them up for us. So I am excited for that. Those cam gears are always a pain, but engine came out no problems. Didn't have any major issues aside from that oil pan thing. I did hear back from Nick over at Killer Bee, so I'm gonna ship that oil pan back to Killer Bee and then they're going to repair it, send it back to me, but I'm going to be selling that pan after it's repaired from Killer Bee. I don't have time to wait for a pan to go get sent out, like get fixed, come back, and then get thrown on the engine, because we need to get this thing over to Kyle for fabrication next week. So I bought a replacement oil pan. It actually already shipped. I bought it a couple hours ago and it's already shipped and on the way, so that's dope. Plus, I got something I've been waiting on for like a week now that finally showed up. Now, I hope you didn't think, or that I misled you, that we would be staying with a stock location turbo. You guys absolutely killed it on the likes, so I just got this dropped off today. This is, I'm actually very excited for this. This is not a standard turbo that a lot of Subaru people run. Most people run 62 66s, 64 66s on rotated setups. This is actually a 6062 with a smaller AR. Now, I wanted a smaller AR and I wanted a 6062 because I still wanted some good response out of the turbo for daily driving. Plus, since we already have those BC 272 cams in here, it'll flow very well for this turbo. So this turbo is rated up to about 750 horsepower. I couldn't find any information on this turbo when it comes to STIs. Every video I found on YouTube was like a 58 58, 62 62, 64 66. So I am incredibly stoked to get this thing on the car. I have never had a rotated setup on an STI before, like an EJ25 rotated setup, I should say, because I guess the EG33 STI down at Fuse Fabrication is technically a rotated setup. Since the turbo sits over here, it's just a different kind of rotated setup. So this thing needs to get down to Fuse Fabrication next week. I'm a little stressed because we have a lot to do. I still don't have a clutch for this car yet, and I can't get the car down there without having a clutch in, because he obviously needs the engine in there to be able to go through there and get the rotated setup completed. So very excited for this. It's just a standard T4 housing on the hot side. Also, if anyone is curious, it's just standard T4 back there. But this thing's gonna make some sauce. We're going the beans. We're doing E85 big turbo. We're sending it. I've been dropping hints all week about this rotated setup, so hopefully you picked up on the hints. If not, now you're in the know and you know what's going on. So 6062. I am excited. This thing's going to be so much fun. It's still going to be responsive with that turbo also. After talking with JR over at my WRX channel with his 6466, it's either a 6466 or a 6266 with, I think, a 1 AR. JR, you can correct me if you watch this video. But he was just telling me that the turbo feels lazy up until you get into the RPMs, and I don't want that. I still want a somewhat responsive turbo setup. So going with the 6062, I feel like is a very good compromise. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys on this one. In the next video, like I said, we'll get the heads off of that long block right there. We'll get the heads up drilled. We'll get them bolted onto our new engine with the 1/2-inch head studs. Get everything rebuilt, get the engine put back in the car, trailer it over to Fuse Fabrication. I'm gonna have to like take an Uber down there or something to be able to go film as Kyle's making this rotated setup. He is making, I think, 3 or 4 extra kits for rotated setups for Subarus. If any of you are interested, just let me know and we can definitely make something happen, or let Kyle know and he can he'll do the thing. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys on this one. So if you like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead, hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit your boy up one of these corners. No idea which one I'll put it in quite yet, but with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies. Woo!